It's mid-February and we've had cold temperatures and we've had warm, bouts of rain and some longer dry periods. It has been a little bit all over the place. What does that mean for where we are right now and where we are going? Shelby, Haley, and I will dig into all of that in our February Water Resources Outlook. But before we get into it, I just want to thank everyone that has supported the WRO, the Southeast RFC, and me over the last 30 years. This will be my last Water Resources Outlook, but it will continue on with other dedicated staff to provide insight into water resources in the Southeast. So thank you, and let's let Shelby tell you about our climatology this month. Take it away, Shelby.
Thanks, Todd. Though February started with scattered light showers across the Southeast, we soon received rainfall events that transitioned the rainfall story for the past month. Between February 9th and February 16th, rainfall accumulations of 4 to 7.5 inches were observed in parts of Alabama and Georgia. The two frontal systems that produced these accumulations did produce the greatest accumulations along and north of the I-85 corridor. We began the year with below normal to normal rain amounts across the Southeast. For our 30-day departure from normal, that is still true, aside from above normal amounts that stretch from Coffeyville, Alabama, to the northeast through Greenville, South Carolina, central North Carolina, and southern Virginia. Cold air temperatures around the North Carolina and Virginia border resulted in a portion of the precipitation in this area reaching the ground as snow. Although frontal systems continue to provide precipitation on a weekly to biweekly basis, these accumulations have mostly been light, and where greater accumulations have been observed, they have been localized. This pattern has resulted in below normal precipitation in the last 90 days for the majority of the Southeast. This graphic shows the 7-day runoff for the past year for the South Atlantic and Gulf states. In the past week, we have seen many minor floods in Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Virginia from the rain events mentioned previously. The rainfall has translated to the 7-day average runoff, quickly transitioning from below normal to above normal. The percent area experiencing some type of drought has not dramatically changed since our last WRO, with only close to 30% of the area not experiencing drought conditions. Severe drought has expanded in South and Central Florida due to below normal rainfall and high temperatures, introducing short-term drought impacts. Along the North Carolina coast, drought has been consistent and short to long-term drought indicators are developing. These are the 28-day runoff for each Southeast state in our area, and they do show some hopefulness in terms of monthly runoff. Aside from the Florida Peninsula, this is the winter recharge season, and we are seeing the runoff increase from below normal to normal percentiles. In Virginia, where rain and snow has been consistent, the runoff has reached the 95th percentile or much above normal. Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas runoff remain closer to the 25th percentile after the significant rainfall event, and this continues to highlight the need for precipitation in the area. This drought monitor change map is displaying if and how drought class has changed since our last WRO. There has been 1 to 2 class improvements over the past month thanks to rainfall and below normal temperatures in all states aside from Florida. Because the rainfall events have been hit or miss for areas, we see that much of North and South Carolina mark no change or even some degradation. In Florida, below normal rainfall with warm temperatures has allowed drought to expand or remain the same. Looking at our river flood climatology based on week of the year, we are currently in week 8. The recent heavy rainfall and flooding follow our climatology where minor floods are common. The recent event also saw at least 2 moderate floods. Haley and Todd will share more about what's to come in terms of rainfall predictions in the short and long term.
As of the time of this recording, there are a few ongoing snow showers and flurries over portions of the southeast, but once those have tapered off or fizzled out, The remainder of the day will be dry and cold as a large area of high pressure centered over the plains slowly shifts eastward. And that high pressure shifts east some by Friday, becoming centered over the Mississippi Valley and continues to dominate the weather over the southeast, keeping things dry and quiet. And by Saturday, this high pressure is firmly planted over the southeast and the quiet weather continues. Temperatures also start to warm up out of the unseasonable cold from earlier in the week. And this high pressure again remains centered over the region Sunday. However, there is an area of low pressure off of the coast of Texas that is forecast to bring rain chances to parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and far southwestern Alabama. Otherwise, the remainder of the southeast remains dry under the control of that high pressure. Influenced by a nearby frontal boundary, some of South Florida could see rain on Monday, but again, the trend of dry, quiet weather continues for the vast majority of the region. And that continues into Tuesday as well. On Wednesday, a frontal boundary sags down over the southeast, but currently there is no forecast precipitation associated with it, so the streak of dry weather continues. You can see the rainfall in southern Mississippi and Alabama associated with that low off the Texas coast and the forecast rain in South Florida, but the largely dry trend over the rest of the area is visible in this map of forecast rainfall. The rain forecast over the northern portions of our area is mainly from Wednesday night into Thursday. And looking ahead into the long term, our upcoming dry weather trend is not likely to last as the Climate Prediction Center is calling for chances of above average precipitation over the entire southeast from late February into early March.
Thanks, Haley. Well, she took us to March, and it looks like March is leaning towards near normal precipitation with no clear pattern pushing us towards wet or dry. A normal March for the southeast typically means we have some flooding. With fronts moving through and the Gulf opening up, bringing moisture to the area, scattered to widespread flooding would not be a surprise, although it is not currently in our forecasts. Recent rainfall across much of the southeast has left us more vulnerable to flooding, and so we will have to watch it closely. A weak La Nina remains in place, and that would typically nudge us towards dry, but instead of warm and dry recently, we've seen some cold and rainy. And if you take a peek into the future, La Nina remains a possibility as we approach spring and summer. Very little chance of El Nino in the coming year. Again, we will have to watch these forecasts in the coming months to see how they evolve. The seasonal forecast keeps the southeast on the warm side. It will be interesting to see with all the temperature extremes this winter what the final assessment will be with respect to temperatures. While we have had warm days, we've also had some very cold periods. It seems it's the first time in a few years we've had some of these long stretches of cold. The rainfall forecast looks like classic La Nina forecast as dry conditions may continue in Florida with equal chances of above, below, and near normal rainfall. As mentioned previously, we could see some improvements in the drought, but that also means that we could see some flooding, so be prepared as March is just around the corner. Our summer rainfall outlook shows the southeast leaning towards above normal across much of the area. Summer is a time when if we receive normal rain, reservoirs tend to start to recede and our stream flows tend to be a little bit lower. So the slight chance for above normal rainfall would likely be welcomed. So the bottom line in the short term, drought intensified, and then we had some relief from that. Got a little bit of rain in the middle of February to help things out. An active month could pull us out of the drought as spring approaches. Long term, a weak La Nina lingers and maybe transitions to neutral, but just barely. It's hard to tell where we're going to go right after we get out of that. Forecast is for warmer, but maybe closer to normal rainfall. We'll just have to see, and you'll have to come back next month to find out more when the Water Resources Outlook is recorded on March 20th. See you next month.